Hi everybody, Kat here. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to paint something very similar to this and learn to add depth to your artwork by layering and using the negative painting technique. There's much to do, so let's get started. First, I want to start by showing you an easy way to draw a leaf if you don't have any leaves outside to collect for yourself. The ones around me, you know, sometimes you get lucky, but we've had a bit of rain and then we had a lot of sun, so they're kind of drying up a little bit. So I just decided to draw a few, and I'll show you one easy way of drawing. So depending on how big, I'm not going to use this. This is just a sample. So I'm going to do a stem, just kind of willy-nilly. It doesn't matter what direction you do it in. And then I'm going to do an X. So they just have to meet somewhere on the middle stem here. And then I'm going to curve it like that. So once you have that established, you can just thicken this bottom a little bit like that. Make a little, like a long triangular shape. And from this stem, just bring your pen down in an oval shape, and it doesn't matter if your lines overlap, because you're going to be cutting this out. And then this side, you could do that in an oval shape. So then you would do the same thing for this one. So it doesn't matter if your lines overlap, because you're going to be cutting it out, remember. Okay, so we'll do that over here. And we're just following the shape of your, so if that's got a curve, give your leaf a curve. No leaf is perfectly shaped. Well, okay, that's a lie, but some of them. There we go. So bring that back. I hope you can see with my hand in the way. So once again, we're gonna, it doesn't matter if it overlaps, we're just gonna bring this around, and there you have your leaf. Now I've used wax paper. So I use a blade that looks something like this. And then I bought this little rubber mat at, guess where, the Dollarama. And I just place my drawings out, and I slowly cut it out just from where the lines overlap. Don't cut down to your first stem. Cut from where your lines meet. And then you will end up with, I'll just show you one of them, something like that. So mine's all wonky. I wanted to show you how that's how mine turned out. So I did a few of those to save time, but that's only if you can't get your hands on some nice leaves outside. You can flatten them, or anyway, or if you're comfortable drawing, go ahead and draw them. So the first step in this project, aside from that, is we're going to get some nice juicy fall color paints. So we're going to do a whole background first. So I prepared my paints ahead of time. You don't have to do this. I just did it for the video's sake. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray my paper. I don't want it to be sopping wet. I just want it to have a little bit of water on it. So I'm going to spray. I have the paper elevated right now, so that you don't get a glare when you're watching the video, but you do not have to have your paper upright on an angle. Okay, so I'll just show you. You see the droplets? That's all I want. So I'm gonna get a nice wet brush. I'm using that nice juicy brush. It's I think a size 8. It's kind of worn off on me. It's nice and juicy. It's the Royal Langnickel Zen brush. So I'm going to start with a little bit of, this is called raw sienna. It's like yellow ochre, and it's a very common fall color. Now we're going to go in with some pretty intense color here. So if you don't find it thick enough, like after you've wet your paper, just go over it again while it's wet. Okay, wet your brush again. I'm going to go in with some orange. So I'm just slapping down some color willy-nilly where I want to put it. There's no rhyme nor reason to this. It's just whatever shakes your tree. Now this is a bit brighter, this yellow. I'm just working on my pad. This one I did not tape the paper down just for time's sake, because I have another one prepared for our project today. I just wanted to do this part with you. Now nice red, you know, and you can overlap them. That's the beauty when your paper is wet, and that's the beauty of watercolor, really. So I'm going to go in with a bit more yellow here. And you see the colors are merging. Now I'm going to put my paper upright just simply because I don't want it to flow just yet. Maybe later. So I'm putting in some more yellow. I'm re-wetting my brush. And I think I want a bit more red down here. Yeah, right like that. And you look at it and you do what your gut tells you to do. Don't follow any rules. Like, just do whatever you feel like doing. And you'll see, you'll get more enjoyment out of it. It's so relaxing. Okay, so I'm just trying to use the whole page because I didn't tape it down. So I'm going in with a nice tree green. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to drop it here and there. I'm not going to do whole big patches. I'm going to drop it in. And I'm standing up to paint, and that's because I find when I stand up, I paint looser. You see where I'm holding my brush? I'm holding it up at the top. If you paint detailed, you usually hold your brush down here and you do more precise, slow lines. But right now, I want loosey and juicy paint strokes. So maybe in there. And now I also have some brown mixed here. So I'm just gonna dab some brown. One of them is called Burnt Umber. And that to me is like a yellowy brown. In some sets though, you'll see the difference in paints in some sets. You never know. Okay, so this is starting to get a bit dry. Now I am going to respray simply because there's a little trick I want us to do after we get all the paint down. So a bit more orange. I'm going in with some yellow. And you can see it's not a very bright yellow. It's a bit brighter than the rest, but it's not very bright. Just trying to use up all the stuff that's left on my... I will be using these colors again. There we go. And a tiny bit of darker green. I'm just going to dab it in there, here and there. There is no plan. I have no idea. It's not going to look like my last one. Each one's going to look different. Okay, so while you have this, lay your project down flat. I hope it's not too shiny for you to see this part. I have torn off of my cling wrap, my plastic wrap, these rectangular pieces that I don't necessarily want all over the project, although it would look nice. You just have to make sure your project's good and wet. Evenly wet, not puddles. Okay, I'm starting to get a bit of a puddle here because my paper is buckling. If you notice that and you don't like it, you just suck up the puddle with a thirsty brush, like we've done in other projects. You just make your brush thirsty. You dab it on your towel and you make your brush thirsty and you suck that up. But I'm gonna put a bit more color there. Okay, so we're gonna lay this down, and in certain spots you're gonna kind of squish it together here and there, because what that represents to me is the very dry, crackling looking leaves that you see in the fall. Okay, so now I'm going to do the other set, the other piece. If it's not beside me, so that's why I'm only using 2 pieces right now. If you need more, like what I did to the project you're about to see next, is I squared it off and then I did it separately, like, whoops. And you're going to see the beautiful effects you get from this. And I think I'm going to put some here. I wish I had a little bit here. I'm going to tear this piece off. Ooh, ooh. Okay. What am I doing here? Oh my goodness. Okay. It got wild. Okay, so then I'm going to place this down right here. I just wanted a little bit more texture. So that's what this is going to do. It's going to create texture in your painting. And it's a lot of fun. So just sprinkle a bit of salt here. I'm not being very careful. And you're going to see the effects start right away. And what we're going to do is we're going to allow this to dry. And since this video would be way too long if I allowed this to dry, what you're going to do is you're going to go and you're going to watch another video and start a project again while this project is drying. I'll be right back. Okay, so you can see this is not the same project. The one I was just working on is over here to the side, and it will take a good while to dry because the plastic prevents the air from flowing on the paper. So you won't really get to see this end project, but this one you will. So that I did the same thing on this one yesterday, and I let it dry so that it would be perfect for this tutorial. And I'm going to work again on a slight angle just so you don't get too much glare while we're doing the detailed work. Oh, not so detailed, eh? So I drew out and cut some leaves before, like I showed you before. I got a jump start. And I love these. Can you see all this detail here? Push this up. You see all this detail here? And this. Oh, I just love it. So sometimes when you're really comfortable, you don't really need to have cutouts. And negative painting, it means to paint around something, and then like in this case, the leaf will appear. So I really like this red, so I want some of this leaf to have that crinkly look. I think I'm gonna have this maple leaf right there on that crinkly look. Now, in this case, I am a little bit more comfortable drawing freehand on my own. So what I could do is take a pencil, and I kind of see a leaf shape here. So I could just draw willy-nilly. I could just draw that, just like that. Not so willy-nilly. I don't know why I use that word. And you just jaggedly go over this. Just enough so you can see it. Okay, I'm trying to go a little bit dark so you can see that. I don't think you really can. Eh? But later when we paint, you'll see it. But for now, so on this side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to do it with the stencils that we made. And on this side, we're going to do it without. And it's just to show you the difference in the effects. Now, what I recommend doing, if you have these down, I would spray just on top of them because it's going to make them adhere to the paper a little bit. Whoops, that one I shouldn't touch. There. Okay, so what it's doing is it's wetting the paper around the leaf, but not under the leaf. And it's loose, it's very loose. This side's going to be much more detailed than this side. But I really wanted to show you both. So you're going to get a medium size brush with a point. Let me see where I put my, okay. This one, it's nice and soft, but it's not squirrel or anything. It's Taklon, I think, and it's got a point and it's a size. This is like a size 4, I would say. So I'm going to. Okay, I'm just wetting this again because this is not staying down. Okay, so I'm going to outline this leaf and pull it up so we can see what's under it. But I don't want to lose all this beautiful color. So I'm going to try to mimic the colors that are underneath this leaf. So I'm going to go into my red. And I'm going to cut it with a teeny bit of green, just so it's a bit more browny. And this paint shouldn't be too watery, because don't forget you sprayed the paper. Yes, yeah, you sprayed your watercolor paper. So the darkest part goes towards your leaf, and then you're going to, I see a bit of green here, and I don't want to lose that green, so I'm just gonna, sorry, I'm just going to get my paint. It's a bit too watery. I should have dried my brush off more. Here we go. Dab that off. And it's going to fade off into the background. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the same thing. So I really like that red, and I think I'm going to outline most of this in red. But you don't have to. I'm going to show you a little trick after. Okay. Now here, it's got sharp lines. So what I want to do is soften this out. And I want to respect these colors because I really like them. You can go in with a totally different color, which is what I'm going to do right here. So I'm going to go in with my olive green. And when you're doing negative painting, we're going to be doing layers. So your layers go from lighter to dark. So don't do too thick a layer here. So, or too dark, I should say. So there's the olive green, and I'm just letting it fade off. I'm going to go in with a bit more over here. Now you can do this with stencils you buy at Michael's or something, or you can make your own like we did here, or you can just draw them out and paint around them. So I'm going to lift this and I'm going to show you what it looks like so far. Okay, so this part you see I didn't paint around yet, but I just wanted to get the faint impression of a leaf sitting there because we're going to be doing layers and layers of this. Okay, so I'll just put this back for now, and I'll do this side too. So I see some yellow ochre over here, so I think I'm going to go in with some yellow ochre. Rinse my brush, tap it, and I'm just going to let it fade off into the background here. Okay. If your work is flat, it's a bit easier to do that. So I'll just leave this for a minute, and we're going to carry on to this guy now. This, I really love all the browns around it and the yellow ochre, so I'm going to work with that. So I'd like to get some burnt umber. It's this one here. Can you see my palette here? There we go. And we're going to paint around the leaf. I had a wonderful comment. I had a couple of comments. I was just thrilled. Somebody said they liked watching me paint, and then someone said that they enjoyed the long videos, and I'm just so thrilled. Really thrilled. So over here, that's the brown, and we've let it kind of fade out. And over here, I'm going to do more yellow ochre or raw sienna. I think I'm going to do some raw sienna. They're very, very close. I'm just using the raw sienna right now because I have more of it in my tray. So this is quite the loose way to do it. Okay, we wet the background. What you can do if you want to do it the other way, I'm going to show you. You certainly can. You just trace these with a pencil after onto your paper. Okay, and we're going to soften up the edges so that you don't have any hard lines. It just fades off into your beautiful background that you made. Okay, so this one I'll do later. Let's get into the more detailed side. So now I'm going to sit to do this part. And I still want to respect these colors because we're going to be doing another layer of leaves. So over here, I see some nice, beautiful green that I don't want to completely cover up. So I'm going to get some, this is an olive green that I've been using, and a tree green. So I think I'm going to try to mix the two and see if I can just, you know, lighten it a smidge, and that seemed to work. So I'm going to take the point of my brush, and my pencil lines, I know for you they're a little hard to see, but I'm going to trace my pencil lines. And I tried to do it quite shaky because, you know, leaves in the fall are looking pretty brittle. So now I'm pressing down on my brush and using the belly of it to soften the outer edge. I want this sharp edge here because that's the stem. And if I don't want the stem to be that long, I'll just soften it. So now I'm going to come around here, and I think I will keep in with this red because I quite like it. So I'm going to load up my brush, pointy brush. I'm going to come around and I'm going to trace my pencil lines. And people who can draw or just paint out of their head, go right ahead and do that. So we're going to make this mingle a little bit and fade off into the background. Okay. So you would definitely want to turn your work to do this because this is pretty detailed work. Just want to make sure you can still see. Yes. Now, do you see a bit of a shape emerging here? So over here, I would like to respect, because I did a mixed background, I want to respect these colors. I really love them. So I'm going to put some raw sienna on my brush. You could do this in any color you want. You don't have to do fall colors. Use your imagination. Go do whatever you want. Okay, so I'm coming around. I'm tracing out my zigzaggy lines, and then I'm pressing down on my brush and using more of the belly of my brush so that it just fades off. And if it's too dry, dab it in some water and it'll fade off. Okay, that's the important part. You don't want any hard lines on this. Okay. Well, you want hard lines only to edge on the edge of your leaf. So I'm going to go in with a bit more raw sienna. I'm going to go from the palette because this is wet now. So when I do this, drop it in, it should fade out all on its own. And if it doesn't, then I will help it along. Okay. And over here, I think I'm going to put a little bit more green, maybe a teeny bit of brown. I'm going to put some brown over here, I think. You can hardly see that. It was a smidge too watery. So I'm just going to drop some paint in. There we go. I think I'm going to go back to the green here. I really like it. So and it's going to fade off. So I wonder if you can see that leaf that just emerged. So try to do this. Maybe it's a good idea to do it one day and then come back to it the next day and see what shapes you see. It's like when you were a kid and you used to look into the clouds and you would see, you know, you'd lay on the grass and sometimes you'd be with your siblings or your friends and you would all see different things. And as we get older, I think a lot of us lose that. And so I find painting like this more creatively and less realistically, it brings out your imagination. It really, and don't be stressed about it because this is not for anybody else but you. So I just saw a leaf there, so that's why I decided to put that there. Now over here, I can kind of see something that I would like too, like sort of like a broken maple leaf or something. So I'm going to try and work on this and see what I come up with. And then we're going to skip along so that this video isn't too long and painful for you. Now, because watercolor is transparent, even though I put that red, it went over the green and it just muted the green a little bit. So now I'm going to turn my work again because what I see is a bit different from over here. So I see this kind of jaggedy looking leaf that I think I want to pick up on. So I'm going to do this in a bit of browns, I think. Ooh, that's dark. Mark. Ooh, that's dark. Okay, I'm going to definitely lighten that. It's okay if it's dark for the video, it works out, but it's a bit dark for my painting. I went too dark too soon. So I'm just going to soften this. And that will just give you the impression that there is a leaf sitting there somewhere. And later on, we can always kind of put some veins in it if we like, or you don't have to. And then I see a leaf on top of this one. So I'm also going to do that. So this leaf, now I'm going to give it a color. So I'm going to go into my orangey yellow. I'm going to come around here. And that's what negative painting is. You're going around something to make it exist. That leaf did not exist before, and now it does. So I'm just putting a little edge around, and that can act as the shadow because it's sitting on top of this leaf. And now we see another leaf. So I'm going to come around here, and I'm just going to do a jaggedy thing. There. Okay, so let's move this to see if you can see the difference. See, it's more faded. So this paper was wet and over the stencils that were laying there. You do not have to use the stencils that way. That was just something I wanted to show you. It's a more loose way of painting. I'm going to turn my work so you can see better. Soften it off, soften. And here, a little bit of brown. And this is water rare because I don't want it to cover up that green completely because I really like that color. Okay, so you carry on, and I'm going to show you a few tricks to add to your painting. Alrighty, this is dry. I used a blow dryer because there's no salt or anything on it, so I'm good. So now what you do in negative painting, when you're practicing, there are no limits to negative painting. There's a Facebook page called Negative Painting with, I think it's Linda Kemp, but I could be wrong, so I'm gonna try and link it down. I'll look for it and I'll link it down below. It's really, these people are out of this world, what they can do with negative painting. So there are no limits. I'm just showing you one method that I see quite often. So now that we've got these leaves established, the paper, I'm gonna keep it dry this time. So I'm going to come in with another leaf. So we have a leaf here. And I'm going to come in with this little guy. And I think I'm going to put it... no, I think I'm going to put it down here. So I'm going to take my pencil. And as before, if you're comfortable without a pencil, go right ahead. It's whatever you're comfortable doing. Okay. So I'm just tracing this very casually. Now, if you notice, this is where the other maple leaf was. So when I paint this leaf, that maple leaf is going to become a lot more clear to the viewer and to you. So I want this leaf, I like these colors in this leaf. So I'm going around this leaf, not in it. But I will be painting something in it after, and you'll see. So I'm going to go around here. I'm going to go with, I mix this orange by using yellow ochre. And I used some vermilion red. And I quite liked it. I really liked the color that it turned out. Sometimes the oranges that are pre-mixed, they look a little bit artificial to me. I don't know. So I do often cut my colors with other colors. I mix them and that's the other beauty of working with any paint, is mixing your colors and exploring and seeing what you end up with. So I'm just tracing this leaf. I'm going to go in with some brown because these leaves are not only on top of other leaves, but they're on the ground. So I'm just going around softly there. And now we're going to do this side, which is under that leaf that we already traced. So I'm going to go with, am I going to go with green? Let me see. I think I'm going to go in with the burnt umber. And I'm going to go in with a bit of yellow ochre. Mix that up, just so it's not too dark. And add some water. So this is like mustard. This is like, yeah, that's what I would call it, mustard. Some people use the milk, tea, and cream consistency comparison. But to me, if you drink skim milk, it's the same as your tea. So you'll just know. You'll know after a while when things are too thick and too thin. And so this was a teeny bit dark here, my brown, but I don't know. I'm good with it. I'm quite liking it. So I'm just going to rinse out my brush and dab it a bit, just so I can spread this out a little more and lighten it up a bit. I hope I didn't cover that with my hand. Okay. So now we've got the edge of this leaf established. You see, this is where the old one was. So now what we're going to do is that leaf is casting a shadow onto that leaf. So I'm going to take this green. Okay, that was the olive green that I was using. You don't have to use olive. And I'm going to come under this leaf. And I'm just going to put this on the leaf that we just painted. Not towards the edges though, just under that leaf. So now this one appears a lot more clearly than it did before. And now you have cast a shadow on this leaf. So if you want to just faintly touch your paper for your veins, you can do that. Or you don't have to. I mean, this is your painting. This is your piece of work. So this one I kind of made a leaf just now because I saw another one. So I'm going to go around that and I'm going to do the same thing. The only thing I did here, I painted a little too light for my pencil marks, and I can't stand when pencil marks show on my painting. Some people love it, I don't like it. So I will go in and erase that when this painting is really dry. So that's how you get the layering. So underneath this one, I'm just gonna do it with a dry brush. I'm going to pretend like there's a leaf. I'm gonna use a different red this time. And I'm going to come over here and I'm making it as jagged as I can. And I'm going to soften this out. See that I didn't make it watery enough before, so it's leaving a little bit of an edge. So I'm really working on softening it out. Oh, by the way, I'm using the Dollarama paper again. If you have cotton paper, this would be a great project for your cotton paper. And, excuse me, I lost my train of thought. So what you can do, this is endless. You can just keep layering and layering and layering. And you could just build out. So as you can see here, after this dries, I can make another little leaf here. And it looks like there's a leaf there. So this is endless. This is so fun. And you can do this with circles, leaves, hearts. I would start off with fairly simple shapes. This is a little more complicated. So the complementary color of a lot of these fall colors is blue, because you've got different shades of yellow, and the opposite of yellow is purple, right? Yellow and purple. But if you just go along your color wheel, the opposites turn into more bluey. So when your yellow becomes orange, it's blue. So all different shades of blues and purples complement this painting. So in between this green leaf and this one, I see a little edge here that is unpainted. So there's a leaf here and a leaf here, and then there's nothing down there. So I'm going to take, this is called phthalo blue in my set. So I'm just going to pop that in, just for some interest to the eye. You don't have to do this, but I wanted to, so I did. And as you go along your painting, you can add these little pops of complementary colors, and it will really make it pop. Or you can keep it more muted, the more muted fall colors, and leave it like that. I just adding a bit of water because I do find that a smidge, it's so dark that you can't see it. So I'm just gonna take my, there we go. I took a paper towel and I just went doot doot, and it looks good. I'm just gonna quickly paint just so I can get this paint at a different stage. I will fast forward through this. You can watch through fast forward. So as I think you can see, this can go on for days. So you can add some, I'll quickly show you, you can add a little bit of shadowing to your leaves that you already have. I did want to show you one little trick before we go, and that is to use a brush. This is my Wet n Wild, some kind of makeup brush that I got at a Dollar Tree. And it's a good eradicator brush. It's like you can remove paint with it. And because it's soft and it's short, so you get a Kleenex or a towel. And we're gonna try and make things look like there's some branches in here. So I'm just going to wet it and make a line and then pick it up with my towel. And you could make them as jaggedy or as long, as short as you want. Just putting them here and there will help. Different sizes, different angles. You can make it look like a fallen, if you want, like I see a shape right here, so I want to exaggerate the jagged edges that I see. So I'm just going to remove the paint that way. Wet it and remove some paint. And over here, I'm going to do the same thing. And the smaller these brushes get, the more detailed paint removal you can do, which you hold it straight up, you get a thinner line. If you hold it sideways, you get a wider line. And so the more texture you have, the more like a ground this looks. And this, as I said, this tutorial would be far too long if I just keep going, but I think you get the idea. And this was one of the ones I did on, this is on cotton paper, and you can see that the one on the Dollarama paper has turned out just as nice. Okay, so I worked on it a little bit more, and as you can see, you can go on for hours and hours. And what I recommend you do, unless you're sure you're finished, put it away, leave it aside. You can do another project or go about your life, and then when you have time, come back to it and add to it. Sometimes you get in the mood for this type of thing, so you can do a totally different project for a couple of days and then go back and do this again. So I really hope you enjoyed this, your introduction to negative painting. I will do a simpler one actually. So let's pretend this is not your introduction. It had to be fall themed. It just had to be, because here in Canada, we're almost in winter. So I'm just enjoying these colors too much. So I hope you enjoyed it too. If you did, please give me a like and subscribe to my channel. Happy watercoloring. Bye-bye.